Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick introduction to how to use Photoshop and some of its basic tools and the areas. So we've got the toolbar here, which is used to basically construct everything that we want to make in Photoshop. We can have it as a double line or a single line option. We've got your layers, which is going to become more apparent the more things that we put on to our kind of canvas. So I'll explain that more in more detail in a minute. And we've got our history. This is really important because Photoshop only allows you to go back one step unless you go into the history, which will allow you to go back over multiple steps. So it's really important that you use this wisely. So first of all, we're going to make a new document. I'd recommend that you make an A4 document, so it's a big size document, and we're going to make it so that it's landscape. So the width is 297 and the height is 210. The reason being is that TV is 16 by 9, which is landscape, so we don't really want a portrait picture. And we're also going to make the background transparent. This is so when we bring it into After Effects that we can choose what background we want to put on it. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is the shapes tools. So if we go down to here, you can get all different types of shapes, okay, regular shapes, but what I want to show you is the custom shape tool. You know how to put on a square, it's pretty easy, but custom shapes you can get lots more variety. So it's the little blobby looking one, and then if we click in the where it says shape and then all the different icons, and then we click this little play button almost, if we press all, okay, it will say do you want to replace it with all, press OK and press save, and then it will load every shape that it has basically in the program automatically. So you could do something like, I'm going to grab that and just drag it on. Okay, so that could be your whole picture basically, like a little sort of emblem like that. But I think that's a bit rubbish. So we're going to go back a step, okay, to the beginning. What I'd also recommend you doing is having the back layer as transparent like it is, okay, and then creating a new layer which you can do down here, and so that if you're not happy with it, you can just delete it and get rid of it. So I'm going to do the same thing again. And perhaps I'm going to have a little man running along, okay, a little pedestrian, and he's going to be huge. Okay, so there's my little man. So I'm going to have a little man here, and so that if I was animating that, I could make him run on screen. But for this logo, I'm just going to have him on screen there. Okay, he's on his own separate layer, so if I didn't want him, I could get rid of him or hide him, or just put him in the bin. Okay, but I'm happy with that. I'm also going to make a gradient background to this. So I'm going to make a new layer and move it underneath my man, so that then I'm going to have like a red to, I don't know, black background. So if I click on the gradient tool, which is where the paint bucket is, or it's on top, if we go up to here, this is where you can customize what kind of gradient you want. So you can have it to foreground to background, you could have like a colour to transparent, or you could have one colour into another, or into two colours. I'm going to do it like this. So, but I don't really want orange and yellow. So if I double click on the picture, I can then change the colour I want. So I want it red. I want this bit green. And I'm going to have it red again. Okay. And then press OK. So that then if I drag it, making sure I've got the right layer selected from top to bottom, it's going to put my colour in. That looks horrendous though, so I'm not going to have that. I'm going to maybe go with a colour spectrum, so I'm going to go try like that. That looks also horrendous, so I might just do black to white. Okay, it all looks a bit ridiculous, to be honest. So there's the gradient tool. Or say I wanted to create something from scratch. I can use my pen tool, select the layer, and then select the type of pen that I want. So say I want some kind of crazy pattern, I could go like that with that kind of pen. or I could get a fine line pen and draw something out. So do a zigzag, okay, and create anything like that on there. So it's not really meant to be anything. Again, not really happy with any of those, so I'm going to just go back some steps and create that. I can also create some text. Now you'll find that it's going to take quite a long while to load on your computer. I've had Photoshop open a while, so it's not taking so long. But don't worry if it's taking ages. It just tends to do that because it's thinking about all the fonts. Once you've opened it, once it's ready to go, you'll see this logo come up. Okay. If you drag top left to bottom right, you can then create a font. So I'm going to put Jagger Films. Okay. That font's alright, actually I'm going to do it in capital letters, it's going to be a little better. Okay, that font's quite nice. I can either centre it, or I can make it go to the left hand side, which I'm going to do in this instance. Okay, it's quite nice, that will do. If I want to change my font, I'll click inside the font box, and then I can scroll through to see what font I like. And oh, I'm going to be happy with that one. That's great. That looks really cool. Select it all, and then I can change the font colour. So I'm going to make it red. Nice. Okay, and there's my logo, which is awful. You can also get images off the internet and create fonts like that, but I will show you that in a minute, how to do that. There's some really cool things like the clone stamp tool that I could show you. So if you wanted a bit of it, so if I grab this image and just put it into Photoshop, okay. So say I just wanted loads of versions of his head. I'm going to Command T. If I want to resize that, I press Command and T. I'm going to show you that process again. Alright, so say I wanted this bit of an image, I got my rectangular marquee tool and I copied around the outside of him. I pressed Command and C, or Edit, Copy, and then I pressed Edit, Paste, or Command and V, and I then resized it with Command and T to then stretch it out. Okay, so say I wanted that, and I just want a copy of his head. What I can do, I can use the magnetic lasso tool to copy very carefully around the outside of his head. Okay, and it will only cling to what it can find. So that's okay, and then I can paste it. I can just keep pasting it, so I've got loads and loads of versions. So if I control and click on the layer and duplicate that, I can have loads of layers of his head. Alright, I think that looks rubbish. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of those by selecting both of them and dragging them into the bin. Okay, or I could use the magic wand tool to cut around the outside. So if I hold shift, I can select more than one thing at a time, and then press backspace to see what I'm left with, basically. Which again, that looks a bit naff. Or what I could do, if I get the clone stamp tool, make sure it's large enough. It's not really showing me how large it is. Press Alt to select an area. I can then recreate his head on another part of my layer. Okay, and that is how they get rid of spots and things like that on different programs. So for magazines and stuff, if you want to get rid of a spot, you clone another part of the face, and it should do it for you. Okay, and so that's how you use the clone stamp tool. To get my images in, I just go File, Open, like you would do on any kind of international computer, basically. When I say international, I mean any kind of Mac or PC. So I'm going to bring in my 2 images, and I'm going to do basically a film reel getting cut up by a knife as my little animation. So there's my knife and there's my film reel. Now, if you've got an image that is on a kind of a background, for me this is on a white background, this is going to be quite easy to get rid of it by using the magic wand tool, which is already selected. So if I just click on the background, it should grab everything but the reel. If I hold shift, I can then select more than one thing at the same time. So I'm just getting all these kind of little bits that I don't want either. Carefully selecting it.
Hello?
As I go along.
No.
And then we've got the reel, okay? So, unfortunately, what it's doing at the moment is it's going to pick everything else, everything in the background, rather than what I actually want. So if I go Control and click, select inverse, it's now, as you can see, copying the reel. So then if I copy it, or go Command and C, or on a Mac, or edit, copy, whatever you want to do. I'd recommend you using the short keys though. I go back to my untitled sheet, and there's my reel. It's a little bit small, so I'm going to press Command and T to transform it, and if I hold shift I can make sure the perspective is kept for my picture, and then I can just drag it and make it bigger, and then if I press enter it will then keep to the size that I want. Now obviously I've got this like cut off point here, so I'm just going to drag that so it goes to the end of my picture like that. Oh. And I'm happy with that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is get my knife, which is already on a transparent layer, so I can just get the rectangle tool and copy around the outside the whole picture. Press copy and then paste that onto there. I'm going to press Command and T again. I'm going to resize it so that it's bigger and it is in perspective with the reel. And I'm going to press enter. I'm going to press Command and T again because at the moment it's the wrong. It needs to be rotated. So if I hold shift, I can then drag around the outside where I've got these 2 little bendy arrows. And then go where I want with it. Now, I'm going to put mines like that. Okay, but it doesn't look like it's cutting it much at the moment. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to hide it for a minute. Okay. And then I'm going to use this to cut around the outside of this half of the reel. Okay, so it looks like it's been sliced in half. But I'm going to use the polygonal lasso tool. Okay, because it will make straight lines for me. The magnetic lasso tool will cling to a shape, which is great. But at the moment, because I want it just to be a straight line, it would be easier to use this one. So if I put my start point there, click there, copy around the whole outside of this shape, okay, I'm going to select the layer that I want to duplicate. I'm going to press Command and I'm going to press C. Okay, so it's just copied the same shape. I need to put it back because it's just slightly jumped about. You're probably thinking, what the hell is she doing? I'm going to bring my knife back, and then I'm going to move my knife layer underneath the new layer of the film, and then suddenly it's cutting through it. Okay. And there you have it. That's my logo, basically. So I've created a font, okay, but I'm going to show you how to make effects on that font, okay. So to create a font, you press the T tool, you drag from top left to bottom right to make a new box, and you type the font. Change the font by clicking your cursor in there, pressing the downwards arrow to then change the type of font you want, and then you can change the size, etc. To create a effect on your font, once you've written it out, go to the effects tab over here, and then just select any of the effects, and it will open a new box, which is where you can then add some kind of effect. So at the moment it's just dropped a shadow, which is okay, but it needs a little bit more. So I'm then going to add a bezel and a emboss, and that looks quite nice. You can also play around with how much it does those effects as well by going into the menu and adjusting the levels. And then when you're happy with it, press OK, and then it's done. Once you're happy with your logo, what I would recommend you doing is first of all saving it as a Photoshop file, which it will already automatically be set to. So you go File, Save As, you change the name of the document, so call it Logo, and then the format is Photoshop, and then press Save. Okay. I would then also individually save each of the components on your picture. So what I mean by this is I would hide everything, click on the eyeball, okay, and then I would save that as Real 1, and then save each of these files as a PNG, okay, which is a portable network graphic, which basically means it's going to retain its transparency when we bring it into After Effects. So once I've saved that one, you press OK for that. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. Hide that layer and then save the next bit. So we're doing each part of that picture as its own individual file. So I'm going to hide that. I'm going to bring open the cartoon knife, save that as cartoon knife, save it as a PNG, go save, press OK, hide it, next one, save as, etc. So you get the point. So that you're saving the original version of it. You saved each bit of the picture as well, or each part of the picture I was going to say there, so that we can then bring those all in to animate, and that's a big job done. I'm going to do my final one, which is Jacker Films. PNG. Voila. And that's done. So that we've still got, if we hide Photoshop now, or if I just move this file over actually, it would be easier. We can see we've got our PNG versions, but we've also got our logo version up there as well. Okay, so we've got all versions of the same picture. And that's it. That's done.